Now, in the previous lesson, I was telling you about the reproductive systems, and we were very much sure that we very clearly discussed that this chapter has a bit less reputation relate with respect to the importance for exams. It has a less reputation. And why is that? Because in the previous two sessions, the questions have not been asked from this chapter or the chapter that is coming ahead. Most of the time, the target or the focus of the Cambridge examiners is the one, the biotechnology from the last chapters, because we are heading towards the last ones. So from the last chapters, they are more focused on the biotechnology, they are more focused on the ecosystem related chapters, they are less focused on the reproduction and inheritance topics. And there is a particular reason, by the way, for that. The reason is they try to touch the hot topics, and I have a doubt that they may remove some of the topics in the coming years. Maybe the reproduction in plants chapter. That chapter, I have a doubt that they would be just remove it. Why? Because that chapter typically does not is not, you can say, of that much of a hot topic. The hot topics are mostly related to the ecosystem things, the biotechnological things. So this chapter has an off and on reputation. Moving ahead, menstrual cycle, I explain in detail that what is it. So I'll be moving to the next slide. I'll try to sum up this slide, this topic within these three slides which are available. All right. So basically, when the females reach to the puberty, there is a very clear and apparent change that is that appears, and that is a surge or rise in the concentration of hormones. Concentration of hormones. Rise in the concentration of hormones. So basically, what hormones are uh, increasing their concentrations? Remember, for this purpose, you need to know about three or four different hormones. Number one, if you focus on the body, then basically there is a point. There's a point in the body. I would say if this is the barrier between the brain and the rest of the parts, then almost exact opposite to nose, there is a gland that is called as pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, which is supposed to be called as a master gland. Why do we call it a master gland? It controls the secretion of many other glands. Okay, then if you focus on the female body, then obviously uh, we have very particular gland-like organs which are called as ovaries that are located here, and along with the ovaries there are rest of the organs, reproductive organs. These are the these are the ovaries located inside the body. Now, the actual concentrational rise, the rise in the concentration of hormones, the actual is the related to the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland has two very main hormones. You can notice the slowness in my speed. A very typical type of, you can say, things are going to be explained here. So I want to slow my sentences down so that we can break the sentences to understand. The At puberty, two hormones very clearly rise in their concentration. First hormone is called as follicle stimulating hormone. Now, this hormone, related to this hormone and the next hormone, I would like to draw a table. Let's say I would draw the column in which the hormone released would be my first column. Second column would be the gland. Third column would be the target organ, target organ, and the fourth would be the target organ and the effect. I would try to sum this up within the given width of the column. The first hormone that we are going to discuss is the hormone that we call as the follicle stimulating hormone of or FSH. This hormone is being released by the pituitary gland, and the target organ is the ovary. And it is not typically the ovary, a very particular part of the ovary called as follicle. What is follicle? I'll tell you that. Effect is follicles follicles stimulate. Follicles stimulate. Then we have another hormone that is also going to be released from the pituitary gland. This hormone is called the luteinizing hormone or LH. The LH is going to be released by the pituitary gland. Target organ is the ovary and corpus luteum. Now, what is this? I'll tell you that later. Corpus luteum. It would cause the ovulation from the ovary, and it would stimulate the corpus luteum to release progesterone, the other hormone, to release progesterone. Progesterone. This is LH. Okay, then comes the another very important hormone called as estrogen. Estrogen. The estrogen is basically released by the ovaries, and the target organ are uterus and many other. Why am I specifying the uterus? Because our focus is going to be the uterus. And it brings female features. Female features, basically. You can say that it's just like it would be enhancing female features as well as it would be increasing the uh, it would be healing the uterus. Remember that estrogen has a very important function. It heals the uterus. What happened to the uterus that it required healing? Due to previous bleeding. Previous bleeding of the uterus damages its wall. So it heals it. Okay. Next is next hormone is the progesterone. Now I'm going to write it over here. Progesterone. And the progesterone is being released by a very typical organ called as corpus luteum. Its target organ is the whole body, the endometrium. You remember the endometrium? I asked you to remember it. Endometrium and
Yeah.
the whole body. Because the progesterone also adds up in female features. Okay. Next is okay, endometrium and the whole body and effects. Endometrium, it develops it for the next menstruation, next menstrual cycle, or pregnancy. That is the effect of the progesterone. Now, progesterone is being released by a very typical organ, corpus luteum, that I cannot draw right now. But remember that we need to explain a few things here. Number one, follicle. Now, FSH or follicle stimulating hormone has two very easy words. One is one word, stimulating, and the other one is the hormone, stimulating hormone. Remember that this particular terminology does not require any explanation. It's just stimulating. But what is the follicle? You remember the statement which I told you last time, that females are born with all the eggs they are supposed to be producing in their whole life.
Yeah.
So the eggs, since birth, are protected by are protected by a group of cells surrounding it. Surrounding it. This structure is called as follicle. Okay. Remember that this is the group of cells and this is the egg. And this egg is currently immature. Now remember that since birth, since birth, females store their eggs, store their eggs in follicles in the ovarian wall, in the ovarian wall, and the follicles need to be stimulated. Now you can understand what is the meaning of follicle stimulating hormone. Basically, they are going to be stimulated by the follicle stimulating hormone, so they can, sorry, FSH, so they can turn an immature egg into the mature egg. Maturation. So follicle stimulating hormone has the purpose of maturing the follicle. Is it understandable?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, the follicle stimulating hormone at the time of the puberty, let's get back to the slides. It would go to the um, it would go to the ovary. It is going to go to the ovary. How? Look at this. The FSH is being released by the pituitary. It is basically converting the follicle into a mature follicle that can also be called as Graafian follicle. What's happening? As I have told you, the follicles are stored in the ovarian wall. The follicles are stored in the ovarian wall, so they are going to be stimulated. Once they are stimulated, they are going to develop. Now you can see the change in size. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now, a very important part is going to happen that you can see in this diagram as well, but you have to be very keen while looking at it. The follicle, while maturing, while getting matured, the follicle is secreting a hormone, estrogen. This estrogen is doing two things. Be very careful while listening to it. That is why I'm very slow. Estrogen, first of all, is going to block the FSH or inhibit. Why? See, remember that we only wanted to we only wanted to uh, we only wanted to mature a follicle. Or no. We only wanted to stimulate a follicle. The release of estrogen from the follicle is an indication that the follicle has been stimulated. Let me write it down. The release of estrogen from the follicle indicates that follicle has been stimulated, has been stimulated. And do we need the FSH anymore? No, we don't. Why? It's very straightforward thing that we are not going to need it. It was only required to stimulate the follicle, and we have done that. We have done that. The follicle is now on the path of getting matured, which is being indicated by the release of estrogen. So estrogen is indicator, and the FSH after receiving this indication would be ceased, would be stopped. So that is the thing requires to be understood very clearly. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Now, moving ahead, the estrogen is doing the second thing, and that is it is repairing the damage. And I just told you a few minutes ago that the damage was caused by the previous menstruation. So the estrogen is repairing damage, which you can see the inner wall looks like this, but after the working of estrogen, it is now looking like this. Everything clear?
Yeah.
Now, this whole process occurs during the 0 to 5th day of menstrual cycle. Remember that during this procedure, during this procedure, if I like, hold on, let me tell you. The the coming of FSH occurs at the day 0. And this procedure that you are looking at, the repairing of damage, this this starts around day 5, repairing of damage. What took so long between day 0 to day 5? Remember, we only released the FSH. FSH was received by the follicle. Follicle started releasing the estrogen. The estrogen inhibited the FSH, and in the end, it started repairing the damages. So basically, this is happening basically during the 0 to 50. Or let me make it very clear for you that would also um that would also help you. Uh, let's make it very easy by, yeah, the day 0 to day 5. I would not say 1 to 5. The day, okay, let's say day 1 to 5. It's the menstrual flow stage. Let's make the things very easy. Let's not make it difficult. The 0 to 5th day or 1 to 5th day, it's the days of um, menstruation. They are the days of menstruation. Nothing is happening but the bleeding. Uh, hold on. So if I tell you, let me write all of them separately. 0 to 5th, only menstruation. Only menstruation. 5th to almost 13th day, this phenomena is happening. The formation of the follicle and etc. etc. everything. So you are almost at the 13th day. Once the follicle, now I am currently saying that it's the 14th day. Once the follicle is mature, once the follicle is mature, it is going to fuse itself to the ovarian wall. Remember that ovarian wall is made of cells, and the follicle also is the made is it is made of cells. The follicle also is made of cells. Now the follicle would fuse with the ovarian wall at the day 14th. At the day 14th, the follicle would attach to the ovarian wall. What's gonna happen? Look at this. At 14th day, another hormone releases. Another hormone releases that is called as luteinizing hormone or LH. This hormone has two functions. Number one, it stimulates the fusion of follicle to ovarian wall, ovarian wall to stimulate egg release. In other words, this phenomena is called as ovulation. So LH basically is supporting this phenomena where the follicle is attaching to the ovarian wall, leading to the release of egg called as ovulation. Second function of LH is to support. Okay, I'll tell that later. First of all, look at this phenomenon. Look at here. This region. The ovary is releasing the egg. Ovary is releasing the egg. This is the release of egg that is happening. Now the egg is placed at the proximal end of fallopian tube. Proximal mean initial region. And it is going to wait for 24 to 48 hours. 24 to 48 hours for the sperm. Meanwhile, now remember the egg is, this is the most receptive stage of egg. Most receptive stage. Like it is willing to catch the sperm. So remember that the egg is waiting. So this was stimulated by the LH. But what about the follicle? What's going to happen to the follicle? Remember, the follicle turn into a ball of cells. This ball of cells was named by the scientists the corpus luteum. It is none other than the follicle. Remember, it is nothing different from the follicle. It's only the follicle that went to the ovarian wall, fused with it, released the egg, and now the follicle is coming back into the ovary, but now it is a ball of cells called as the corpus luteum.
Okay.
The corpus luteum is now being it is now supported by the LH. This is also a very important thing to understand, that LH is the hormone. LH is the hormone that does not only supports the uh, ovulation, but also it helps the corpus luteum to maintain. Why? This is important, very important. Please remember, because the corpus luteum is now going to release the progesterone. The things are getting messy. So let's say number one, number one was the release of FSH. Number two, the maturing phase of the follicle, during which it is going to release the estrogen. Number three, the estrogen would inhibit or block the FSH, and again estrogen is going to repair the damage. Estrogen is going to repair the damage. Next, the follicle gets matured, turned into the Graafian follicle, the most mature follicle. The Graafian follicle is going to attach to the it is going to attach to the wall of ovary, and the ovulation is going to occur 5A under the action of LH. Now I'm about to jump to next slide. The release of LH is going to be 5B. Why am I dividing it into okay, let's not make it 5B. Hold on, just hold on. The step 5 is the release of LH. The 5A is the fusion of the follicle to the ovary wall, and 5B is the ovulation. Then 5C, this is 5C. What is that? Support of corpus luteum. LH is supporting the corpus luteum. Now, what is the corpus luteum doing? This is the sixth step. The corpus luteum is releasing the progesterone. It is releasing the progesterone. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the progesterone, what is it doing? Now, this is the progesterone basically works for the body features of female, and also the relevant topic is that the same progesterone, basically this is, we are showing the progesterone. So uh, this is going to be the seventh step, that the progesterone is now, notice the words that I'm about to write, muscularizing and vascularizing the endometrium. Muscularizing means that you are increasing the muscles of it. What is the meaning of vascularization?
Vascularization, like the
What is the meaning of
process of
vascular? Mhm.
growing blood vessels.
Yes, very good. Exact answer. It's the process of growing the blood vessels to increase the nourishment. So this is happening, and this is about around, you should say, For this happened at 14th day. You know, this happened at 14th day. Now, the rest of the procedure, right from here to here, it is going to be occurring during 14th to 28th day. So let's see. It is now increasing. It is now increasing in, and the LH is supporting the corpus luteum. Now, between 14th to 28th day, the LH is LH is gradually diminishing. It is gradually reducing or diminishing, leading to the breakdown of corpus luteum. But right now, the breakdown hasn't done yet. The breakdown hasn't done yet. And remember, the egg has now started moving after 48 hours. Egg is now non-receptive, and this egg is moving. Once egg reaches at this point, the LH stops. When the LH stops, there is no more support. Okay, sorry, I needed to, yeah, progesterone. Okay, as an eighth step, I would write no LH means no support for corpus luteum, leading to no progesterone. This is the eighth step. As ninth step, no progesterone would be a signal that no fertilization occurred. No fertilization occurred. So no more need of endometrium. No more need of endometrium. No more need of endometrium. This is the ninth step. And once the progesterone finishes, this is the 10th step. No progesterone would cause the endometrium to fall. Endometrium to fall. And it would just break down. It would just break down. So basically, the LH was supporting the corpus luteum just to, you can just write it over here, that LH is supporting the corpus luteum in the corpus luteum so that progesterone does not finish. Once the LH is off, then the corpus luteum is broken, meaning progesterone is no more, meaning no more support for endometrium. It's going to be broken. That is the whole concept of menstrual cycle. Now, did you notice that you are continuously discussing ovary and uterus? Why? The corpus luteum is in the ovary and endometrium is in the uterus. So they are constantly synchronized. Day 6 to 13 is the follicle stage. Day 14 is the ovulation stage, and 15 to 28 is the corpus luteum stage. Corpus luteum stage means that corpus luteum would control it. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Now, this graph is going to be a very fascinating graph for to understand the synchronization of the whole process. See, the first of all, see the hormones from the pituitary gland. FSH is releasing, and it is getting its peak around fifth day. Notice that the y-axis at extreme bottom. It is getting its peak around fifth day, and once the estrogen is rising, is reaching to the peak around fifth day, you can see that the follicle follicle is maturing. Follicle is maturing. And when the follicle is maturing, after this, the follicle has started releasing the estrogen. Now the estrogen is on the rise. The estrogen, while rising, it's inhibiting the FSH. While rising, the estrogen is inhibiting the FSH. The estrogen is at its peak, meaning that at the same time the follicle is completely mature. This is an indication that follicle is completely mature because the estrogen is on the peak. Now, at around the 14th day, suddenly the LH rises. When the LH starts to produce, the estrogen amount is on the fall. Why? Because one thing I forgot to tell you, the LH subsides or inhibits both FSH and estrogen. FSH was inhibited already. It inhibits the estrogen as well. But you know that if estrogen would inhibit, FSH could rise. So what does the LH do? The LH stops both of them. This is, see what a beautiful synchronization there is, that if you are releasing the estrogen, the estrogen would be inhibiting the FSH. But if you stop the estrogen, the FSH could rise again. So what do? We release the LH that can inhibit both FSH and estrogen. The LH on the rise, it is exactly synchronizing with the process of ovulation. With the process of ovulation. Now you can see a bit more. When the estrogen is on the rise, please notice here, when the estrogen is on the rise, I will shade this region. When the estrogen is on the rise, you can notice in the last graph that the wall is getting repaired. This is the endometrial wall or uterus lining. This was the menstruation in which it got damaged. Now it is repaired here. Once the ovulation has occurred, estrogen is fallen, but right after that, the LH. Now this graph is exaggerating the fall in the concentration of LH because it does not fall to up to this level, but the amount of LH falls. Still, the LH is here, and you can see that LH is supporting the corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum is releasing the progesterone. See the rise in the amount of the progesterone, and see the total area occupied by the graph of the progesterone. During this whole time, the progesterone is increasing thickness by vascularizing and muscularizing the endometrial wall until the last day when LH totally diminished. totally stopped producing. The corpus luteum has degenerated corpus luteum, and the menstruation starts. Menstruation starts. So this is the whole phenomena that could be explained in these four graphs. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to revise it, but understood everything?
Yes.
Hmm. Next. Now, the menstrual cycle is divided into two phases. One is fertile period and the other one is infertile period. For this purpose, you need to understand two things. Once the egg is released, it mostly released at the 14th day and it waits for 24 to 48 hours. Let me first define the fertile period. The days, all the days, including all the days in which there is a high chance there is a high chance of fertilization would be counted as would be counted as fertile period. This actually contradicts with the definition written in the text, but I would recommend you to focus on this definition. Now, at 14th day, the egg would wait for 24 to 48 hours. Now, for how much time the sperm can stay in female? The sperms can stay in female for 3 days. It means if the sperms are loaded, now please be very careful while listening to it. Suppose that if the sperms are loaded at 11th day, it means what is the limit of sperm survival? 11th, 12th, and 13th day. Ovulation occurs, sorry, ovulation occurs at 13th day. So now 13th to 14th and 14th to 15th, you have these days, you still have these days for egg survival. How many days would you include in fertile period? This is very important to know. In fertile period, the day 11th, 12th, 13, 14, 15, all these days would be included in it. All these days would be included in it. Why? Because if the time of sperm and egg release overlaps, all the days would be counted in the fertile period. All the days would be counted in the fertile period. Suppose that if the egg is released at 13th day, ovulation occurred. Now 13th to 14th, and 14th to 15th. This is the time of egg staying there. 13 to 14 to, okay. And the sperms are released at 15th day. So 15th, 16th, and 17th and 18th. Sorry. 15 to 16 one day, 16 to 17 second day, 17 to 18 third day. So it would now, previously calculation went a bit awkward. 11 to 12 is one day, 12 to 13 is the second day, and 13 to 14th is the third day. So if so, yeah, okay, fine. Now focus here. Uh, Now how would you count the fertile period now? 13th day was ovulation, so 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. You will count these days in the fertile period. Is this clear?
Yeah. Clear.
Now let's say, yes. Now let's do this example again. Suppose that the ovulation time is 14th day. So 11 was the sperm loading day, 12, 13. 11 to 12 first day, 12 to 13 second day, and 13 to 14 third day. Now 14th was the day of ovulation, 14th to 15th first day, and 15th to 16th second day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 days are there for ovulation. For fertile period, I'm sorry, for fertile period. So remember that fertile period is not limited to only the 2 days. It's basically all the days in which there is chance of fertilization. Okay, moving ahead. Now, if the fertilization occurs, that is a very big thing. If the fertilization occurs, now what's going to happen? Remember that first of all, the sperms travel all the way through vagina, then uterus, then fallopian tube, and then reach the egg. The egg has two very basic regions, three basically, very important regions. Number one is okay, there is a diagram present next here. Number one is the cell membrane. This is the cell membrane, cell surface membrane. Number two is this jelly-like region called as zona pellucida. And number three are the outer cells, basically follicle cells, but they appear like the crown of egg. Crown of egg. So we call it corona radiata. Corona radiata. So every sperm that reaches the egg has to first make its way through the follicle cells. Then it has to dissolve the zona pellucida with the help of with the help of acrosomal enzymes. Then it attaches to the receptor just like this, and the nucleus enters and fuses. So that is the whole story. That is the whole story. That the egg basically is uh, surrounded by two layers. And even at the end, you must know that when one sperm enters, right after that, the rest of the egg wall becomes stone hard. No other sperm can enter. Understood?
Yeah.
Now, after the fertilization, the very first cell that is produced is sperm plus egg. The very first cell that is produced is the zygote, single cell, single cell. Then the zygote starts performing the mitosis and creates two cells, then four cells, then eight cells, and then 16 cells. Remember that divides, when the zygote divides, it has two ways of dividing. Suppose this is the zygote, this is the zygote. Now, the zygote divides itself in this way. This is the mitosis happening. If during the first mitosis, remember this is the first mitosis after fertilization. If during the first mitosis, the egg starts the second mitosis, and the second mitosis crosses the first mitosis, then the individual would remain single. Individual would remain single, meaning that there would be no twin. If during the first cell division, the second cell division intercepts it, second mitosis intercepts. Second mitosis intercepts, and
Intercept.
uh, I would say interrupt. Sorry, I wanted to write interrupt, or more properly overlap. Like the first is happening, but the second mitosis is overlapping the first mitosis. Now they both are occurring simultaneously. Both are occurring simultaneously. So since the first and second are occurring simultaneously, the egg would remain single. The egg would remain single, and only one uh, offspring would born. But if the second mitosis, I have to change the color to show it because it would be disturbing them. If the first mitosis completes before second mitosis, then two completely separate cells would produce, both acting as separate zygote, acting as separate zygotes. Which means that suppose this was the zygote, it started the mitosis, but the second one could not overlap the first one. Now they both are separate zygotes. You know what's going to happen? They are going to give rise to identical twins. Why they are identical twins? Because there was one sperm, one egg, but two zygotes. So the DNA source is same. DNA source is same. That is why they are called as identical twins. What do you know about the fraternal twins?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Fraternal twins are when two or more eggs are made, all fertilized by separate sperms. So meaning that they would be as different as any normal siblings. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now once the uh, division is occurring, day 5, at the end what happens that the fertilized egg falls into the uterus, where it would now penetrate into the endometrium. Remember this layer, which is looking slightly different above this layer is actually the endometrium. Now the egg would implant into the endometrium, and it would process further, leading to the development of embryo. The development of embryo, the embryo is going to develop into the baby, and you can see different types of pictures here. um, Important part is that the a particular organ forms, an organ between the embryo going to be fetus going to be fetus, and the mother forms called as placenta. In this organ, in which the mother's blood mother's blood pool pool means comes out of capillaries and accumulate to perform important important exchanges, like different kind of materials. So you can see that look at this. In the placenta, the mother's blood is pooled everywhere, and these are the fetal capillaries. You see, one more thing you need to understand here: the endometrium, the endometrium invaginates, invaginates, which means moves inside to create grooves for fetal capillaries to penetrate into the mother's body, or maybe you can say into the placenta. Into the placenta. These grooves are called as villi, and you can see these grooves here. You see, can you notice there is a white layer around the capillaries over here? Hold on. Over here, there is a white layer around the capillaries. Those white layers are representing the villi. These villi are providing the surface area. They are technically providing the surface area for capillaries. And you can clearly see the label here, embryonic villi. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So the villi, through the villi, the capillaries would penetrate into the placenta. And look at this. This is the perfect picture of the villi. These are the villi. This is the villus. This is the villus. And these are the blood capillaries of fetus. Look at this. Blood capillary of fetus. These are the main arteries and veins, fetal artery and fetal vein. Remember, the blue one is the fetal artery, which is bringing the deoxygenated blood from the baby. Deoxygenated blood plus wastes from the baby, and this is the fetal vein, which has exchanged all the wastes and oxygen from the mother's blood, taking it back to the baby. Clear?
Yes.
You can see this is one of the best pictures. You can see the villi here. This is the villus. This is the villus, and these are the capillaries. Okay, now very important questions in P2 appear from this diagram. They often ask that which artery, which blood vessel would have the um, high amount of carbon dioxide. A, um, okay, hold on. Which region? Let's suppose A, then B, then let's say C here, and D here. Highest amount of carbon dioxide. Can you tell?
No, not sure.
A, because the blood is coming from the baby. This region is going to have oxygen for the baby. This is going to have the oxygen that has been exchanged from the mother. Why the D does not have high amount of oxygen? Because the blood is divided in the next vessels. So the amount of carbon dioxide has been divided into three vessels. A has the highest amount of carbon dioxide because it is taking the blood from the baby to the mother. Another very important thing that you need to know, that while development, the baby produces three protective membranes. Three protective membranes. One is outermost, uh, chorion, then amnion, then allantois. You don't need to remember the first and the last name. This is discussed in our syllabus. The amnion is the protective cavity holding amniotic fluid, holding amniotic fluid in it. It acts like a shock absorber. You know that when something is placed inside the water, it can be protected easily from the shocks. So, amniotic fluid, this is the amniotic cavity. Hold on. This one. This is the amniotic cavity holding amniotic fluid. Any problem?
No, it's clear.
The last thing, functions of placenta. Functions of placenta basically are very important in the sense that it exchanges the nutrients between the mother and the baby, respiratory gases, excretory products, antibodies, and this is one of the most important function: production of progesterone. After 20 days of fertilization, or maybe 1 month, the corpus luteum hands over the progesterone production to placenta. And the rest of the pregnancy, during the rest of the pregnancy, the progesterone would be produced by the placenta. I hope everything is clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
So I'm gonna send this slide to you, and also I'm gonna send a test to you.